I want to take some recognitions and invite some people closer to the front while we're getting ready to kick into the convention proper. With us here is the president of this association. He is the clerk of the Senate. Please help me welcome Chinedu Akubweze. Please, sir. If you put your hands together, who will come faster? Chinedu Akubweze, Esquire. If you're here, please come towards. Okay. While he's getting, I realize he's still busy with some things outside. We'll recognize him again when he comes. While we're getting set also, please help me welcome His Lordship. By the way, the people I'm introducing are all members of this association. His Lordship, Honorable Justice Benedict Kaib. He is the president of the National Industrial Court of Nigeria. He's here with us. My Lord Justice, please, can you come closer, sir? You're welcome, sir. No, sir. Sir. Sir, please come closer. If you clap more, I promise you will come. You're welcome, sir. May I also welcome an astute politician. He has made his mark in politics so that he keeping my Lord company. I've noticed they've been trying to fraternize like I noted before. Nzeozi Chukwu is also here with us. Sir, please, can you come and continue the discussion with my Lord? Thank you for clapping. Thank you for clapping. Reverend Father Dr. Martins Onukuba is the director of Project Veritas University, Abuja. Sir, please come closer. You can also clap for him. The president of the association I noted before is here with us. The clerk of the Senate, Chinedu Akubweze, Esquire, is coming forward. You're welcome, sir. Now, I noted that we are all priestly people, we are kingly people, we are also holy people. But one thing more, we are also privileged people. Privileged to see today, privileged to be here, privileged to be part of this convention, the epoch-making maiden convention of the association. We are privileged to be part of it. And like I said, the convention has started as far as I'm concerned. We won't be Africans today as per time. Further recognitions. Reverend Reverend Father Peter Osan is the rector of St. Paul's Seminary, but he's here with us. Father, you're welcome, sir. Can you please help me welcome him with a clap? You're welcome, sir. Also with us is Reverend Father Masdil Onyeni Beadi. Masdile Onyeni Beadi. He's the project manager, Catholic Television of Nigeria. Please clap for him. I first of all sought for that permission in case I don't get your titles well. Please forgive me. Father, you're welcome. We have with us here the guest speaker for this convention, Dr. Martin Uhumobi. He's the former Nigerian permanent representative to the United Nations. If you clap, he will come out. If you clap, he will come and join us in front here. Sir, you're welcome. You're welcome, sir. I recognize you, every member of Osan here present. I recognize you, friends of Osan. I recognize you, enemies of Osan, in case you're here too. Our guests, I recognize all of you. We are about to start, and may we be upstanding for the national anthem and the anthem of Osan. May we be standing, please. May we still keep standing for the Osan anthem. I tune, then we join up. Salve Regina, Mater Misericordiae, Vita Dulcedo, Espe Nostra Salve, a te clamamus, exudes Filii Havem, a te suspiramus, gementes et flentes, in lacrimae malum valem. Ia ergo advocata nostra, illus tuos misericordes oculos ad nos conventem. Ea vetum benedictus fructus ventris tuis, nobis post hoc exili sit down. I'm sure that anthem reminds you of something, I don't know what, but to me, it reminds me of the evening time in the seminary, especially when it's your favorite food that is cooking for dinner. I remember how we used to chant that. I welcome all of us again. If you look at your program, at this time, we will be taking the welcome address by the president of Osan. The president of Osan is Chinedu Akubeze, ex-choir, the clerk of the Senate. Sir, please come for the welcome address. Please, you can clap for him. Sorry, we didn't skip it because we know we must do it. This occasion has been committed into the hands of God. The moment I said today is the day the Lord has made, we rejoice and be glad in it. But just so that the Almighty takes note of it, may we stand for opening prayer. Reverend Father Peter Ezani will be praying for us.
In the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit, the Lord be with you. Lord God, we thank you for your graciousness on us. We thank you for the beautiful day. We thank you for bringing us together for this first annual convention of Old Seminarians Association of Nigeria. You have called us together to be your own and prepared us to serve you in different capacities, to bear witness to you. Be with us today as we have gathered to discuss ways to help ourselves build our nation. Guide all of us, guide our speakers. Grant us your Holy Spirit to lead us aright. And may all we do be for the greater glory of your holy name and for our own good. We make our prayer through Christ our Lord. In the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit.
Thank you, sir. Please, you may be seated.
My Lord, Honorable Justice Benedict Kayib, President of the National Industrial Court, the guest speaker, Ambassador Martin Honebi, my dear brothers, members of the Old Seminarians Association of Nigeria, members of the Fourth Estate of the Realm, our invited guests, ladies and gentlemen, I first of all wish to thank the Almighty God for keeping us alive today to witness this first annual convention of Osan. This is our first major event following the inauguration of Osan on 4th of September 2021. And I thank God that since then, Osan has been waxing from strength to strength. We wish to place it on record before I start this welcome address. It gives me great pleasure to present this address on this auspicious occasion of our first annual convention, which was initially built to hold at Ibadan, Oyo State, between the 6th to 9th October 2022. We, however, had to move it to Abuja owing to security and logistical considerations. We hope that in the future we will still be able to hold a convention in Ibadan, because the choice of Ibadan was for a reason. because the Okeare Seminary is about the oldest seminaries in Nigeria. That was essentially the reason for the initial choice of Ibadan. But unfortunately, it was not to be. Even the rescheduling of the convention to Abuja also came under threat of security consideration. But thankfully, we have overcome. Permit me, therefore, on behalf of the Old Seminarians Association of Nigeria, to welcome our esteemed guests who have honored our invitation to this convention, and also welcome our members who came from all parts of the country to be part of this epochal event. The association was inaugurated on 4th of September 2021. It is an umbrella body of Nigerians who have the opportunity and privilege, which is rare, of having their post-primary education in any Catholic seminary. It is a voluntary and fraternal association which was conceived in the course of events marking the celebration of the Feast of All Saints by the All Hallows Old Boys Association Onitsha on 1st November 2020 at the Church of the 12 Apostles, Abuja. It was at that Mass of Thanksgiving that another old seminarian, Dr. Ogo Jimwoko, from St. Peter Claver Seminary, Opala, Owerri, Imo State, introduced himself to his All Hallows brethren. Thereupon, he was invited to join in the reception that followed the Thanksgiving. And convivial atmosphere that characterized the chance encounter at the All Hallows Feast Day became a physical manifestation of the psalmist's exclamation in Psalm 133, verses 1 and 2. Behold, how good and pleasant it is when brothers live together in unity. It is like precious oil poured on the head, running down on the bed, running down on Aaron's bed, down upon the collar of his robes. Thus, it was at that All Hallows gathering of brethren with Dr. Jim Nwoko from St. Peter Claver Seminary, Opala, in their midst, that the idea of a common forum for all old seminarians in Nigeria came up. Later, I, as the chairman of All Hallows Old Boys Association, invited Dr. Ogoji Nwoko to the end of year get-together of the All Hallows Seminary Old Boys on Sunday, 13th day of December 2020. He turned up at the event with about 10 members of his St. Peter Claver Seminary, Opala, and they were well received. The party became a great improvement on the previous one of the All Hallows Feast Day. It was a party of joyful songs, excitement, experiences of biblical Paul and Silas encounter as they sang and praised God. This atmosphere provided a mood for me to move a motion for the formation of an association voice of Nigeria's Catholic seminaries, by whatever name. That motion received popular acclamation from the Assembly of All Hallows Old Boys and the St. Peter Claver Seminary counterparts. On the 27th of January 2021, the All Hallows Old Boys Association held a reception in my honor on my appointment as the Clerk of House of Representatives and for other contributions towards the growth of AHULE in Abuja. In our generosity of heart, we co-opted Dr. Ogoji Nwoko into the committee that worked for the reception at the Grand Pella Hotel, Durube, Abuja. The event became a platform to test run the gathering of old seminarians from different seminaries in Nigeria, as it was graced by Sir Mike Okiro, former Inspector General of Police from St. Peter Claver Seminary, Opala. His Lordship, Justice Benedict Kanye, from St. John Vianney Seminary, Barkeladi, Plateau State, Professor Fidelis Okafor, the former national president of AHULE Seminary Boys Association, his successor, Akachuku Sullivan Wampo, and the auxiliary bishops of Oka and Onisha, Bishop Jonas Benson Okoye and Bishop Dennis Isiso, respectively, among many other old seminarians from different parts of the country. They all agreed on the need for old seminarians to come together for national development. A maiden meeting of the proposed association was held on Sunday, 28 February 2021, and several other meetings were held subsequently where the name, aims, and objectives, among others, were vigorously discussed by great minds like His Lordship, Justice Sentus Chimamweze, a Justice of the Supreme Court of Nigeria, His Lordship, Justice Benedict Kanyip, President of the National Industrial Court of Nigeria, Sir Mike Okiro, former Inspector General of Police, Matthew Ifeanyi Obibuzo, a retired director, among others. Thereafter, we received information about another association called the Catholic Ex-Seminarians Association of Nigeria, CESA, which had been restored to also advance the interests of these Nigerians who attended Catholic seminaries. A contact was thereupon made, and it turned out that CESA, ably led by Frater Ambrose Obioha, Ibrahim Obenda, and other patrons, had the same aspirations with Osan. Inspired by the inimitable religious leader par excellence, social commentator and intellectual colossus, His Lordship, Most Reverend Dr. Matthew Hassan Kuka, the Catholic Bishop of Sokoto Diocese, CESAN had been attempting to bring old seminarians under a common platform. We then to convene a meeting of the two groups, and after extensive deliberations, we agreed on a merger of the two groups, and the name Old Seminarians Association of Nigeria was adopted for the unified body. The association has been growing since the inauguration, as we have successfully deliberated on and approved a constitution that will be adopted at this convention. Also, the name Old Seminarians Association has been registered with the Corporate Affairs Commission. The next major assignment at this convention is the conduct of elections of officers to run the affairs of the association. To those who will be elected, I offer my congratulations in advance and urge you to carry on with the vision set out for the association, which includes to work towards national integration and cultural cohesion in Nigeria, to use our intrinsic values and training to promote national harmony, good ethics, and selflessness in public life, to work towards fellowship of love and solidarity among all seminarians in Nigeria, irrespective of ethnic, religious, or cultural background. At this juncture, I wish to appreciate our members for their unflinching support in nearly 2 years that we have been working to birth the association. I also want to thank members of the Interim Executive Council for their support that enabled the impressive milestones so far attained. I have no doubt whatsoever that Osan is cut out for greatness. The telltale signs are already pervasive in this hall. I can feel it. Yes, looking around, seeing men of excellent character, impeccable integrity, with admirable pedigrees of transformational leadership, I get sincerely elated as pride, hope, and prospects for a wonderful future surged through my veins. The theme of this first convention clearly encapsulates the motivating imperatives that vetted Osan in the first instance. It is this fraternal love and brotherhood that has been lacking in the larger Nigerian society. The diversities of our ethnic heritages and religious inclinations have not been exploited as sources of strength. Rather, they are being manipulated as vehicles for division and undue rivalries. However, given the peculiarities of our seminary background, the Osan rank and file is made up of God-fearing personalities poised to bear on the Nigerian society the traditions of excellence and unalloyed commitment to common goods of our people. Consequently, I foresee upcoming generation for social leadership being visible and potent vehicle in the quest to reinvent Nigeria. In betting a new nation where everyone will be guided and driven by common sense of purpose and patriotism, devoid of tribal chauvinism and religious bigotry. This is my dream for the future. A dream I am highly convinced will be a manifest reality in the not too distant future. In the course of presentation of this address, I had earlier mentioned how some eminent Nigerians who are also members of Osan played critical roles in ensuring the realization of today's glorious moment. I need not reiterate the positive contributions towards Osan's remarkable achievements so far, but I wish to enjoin them to continue to assist the leadership to confront proactively the challenges of the future. While we all have fervent expectations that Osan will also play critical roles in ensuring the well-being of our members, I implore us, in the words of President John F. Kennedy of the United States of America, ask not what Osan can do for you, ask what you can do for Osan. To all of us here, I say, Eche fraternels, the good Lord who ensured journey mercies for everyone here from our points of departures and arrivals will surely take us back, hale and hearty. I wish all of us wonderful and fruitful deliberations. Long live Osan, long live the Federal Republic of Nigeria. I thank you very much for listening.
Thank you, sir. He deserves more. He deserves more. Thank you, sir. Joy comes in the morning, but the problem is that people go with lantern at night to meet joy these days. Keynote address is supposed to be taken by His Eminence John Cardinal Onaikom. I regret to announce to us that His Eminence is, as we speak, airborne into Abuja. We may have to share that program and hope he comes in before we close. We'll be preparing to take address by the guest speaker, His Excellency Dr. Martin Uhomoipihe. May we recognize the presence of Reverend Father Linus Tombari Palap. You're welcome, Father. I'll keep apologizing for mutilating whoever's title today. On a sad note, we lost one of our members. He was very active when he was alive, and the person I'm talking about is Mr. Francis Obi of 83 Sets or AHULE Seminary. He's yet to be buried. May we bow our heads for a minute in honor of late Mr. Francis Obi. May the soul of Sir Francis Obi and the souls of all the faithful departed through the mercy of God rest in peace. May he rest in peace. I was also told that a requiem mass will be held at the Catholic Church in Guarimpa by Friday in honor of him. May we be kind enough to attend the requiem mass. While we celebrate the death or mourn the death, we also celebrate life. Today happens to be the birthday of one of us, John Naji. Please, can you wave wherever you are? He turned older today. He destroyed another calendar. Where is John Naji? Okay. Wherever he is, we wish him well. We'll be taking the guest speaker's address at this moment. May I invite Dr. Martin Uhumbihi.
Great Osan. I don't know whether we've had breakfast, but Great Osan. It's all right. I will conclude it after my statement. But let me thank Mr. Uba for what he did to my surname. I thought he was translating it in Latin, but in my life as a diplomat, I have been a victim of so many assassinations of how my surname is pronounced. But I will just give you two classic examples, just to say that what we heard from Mr. Oba was not entirely shocking to me. As a new student at Oxford University in 1979, when I went to do my doctorate, my to-be supervisor took me to just across the road to have some wine, some drink. And that was our first encounter. And he said, what's your name? I said, my name is Martin. He said, no, I mean, what is your Nigerian name? I said, please, I think it may be difficult for you to pronounce. It's Uhomoibi. He said, can you write it down? So I wrote it down. He looked at it, took a sip of the wine, and said, this is pretty easy. And he's an Australian professor. This is pretty easy. And I was now waiting. So he looked at it and said, who may you be? So Uhomoibi became, who may you be? I said, thank you very much. The second one was in Geneva, where I was Nigeria's permanent representative to the United Nations. I encountered this Russian diplomat, and he came with an envelope for me, inviting me for dinner. And he addressed it, Ambassador and Dr. Mrs. Martin Van Dibi. It was spelled V-A-M-D-I-B-I. So the second translation was Van Dibi. So, my brother Uba, you have not done anything that I have not seen. So, mea culpa, but not mea maxima culpa, because it's not your fault. So, dear brothers, and I want to thank the clerk of the Senate for a very powerful introduction to this whole proceedings and its vintage Osan. I have attempted to write a speech, but maybe I should say a few things first before that about my humble self. I entered St. Paul's Minor Seminary, Benin in 1966. So I was 10 years plus. And the rector of the seminary was Reverend Father Anthony Lawrence Murphy. Reverend Father Anthony Lawrence Murphy. Father Lawrence Anthony Murphy was, of course, Irish. And I want to say that if I am able to stand here today and address you, and much of the journey that I have undertaken in my life, which has been quite, in my own calculation, and to God be the glory, awesome, was primarily because of my Osan and St. Paul's Seminary pedigree. There is no apology about that. For Father Murphy, there were only two categories of people on earth. Because when he comes to the class to teach Latin, he was teaching us Latin, he will come with a ruler and draw a straight line on the board. Then he will take the chalk and go to the other side and scramble anything. If you did not get 2/2 in Latin test, which you have to do every morning, you start the class by doing test in Latin. Duo puncta or uno puncta. If you get nulla, so those who have 2/2 are the ones with the straight line. The ones who have 0/2, the scallywags, are the ones who are like this because they have no character. So you were either someone with integrity and you have 2/2 character, or you were a scallywag, like a snake, and there are as many as the mosquitoes. Any sin that was committed in the school belonged to those who did not know Latin, the scallywags. Whether you were present there or not, they will be calling your name. If there were people making noise in the class, there was one particular man the man was in the dormitory and there was noise being made in the class. And when the principal came, he started calling the man's name because he never used to get Latin. But if you had Latin 2/2, you could commit no sin. This whole story is in the book on my life, so I will not go into details. But out of the abundance of the heart, the mouth speaketh. It is what is sowed in your heart when you are a baby that stays and guides you throughout life. And we had the privilege of being mentored and blessed by people like this, which all the seminaries in Nigeria were providentially endowed with. And I think only God could have planned that. And therefore, God must take all the glory. In my career, I decided in class 3 that I was going to do my O-level because my father was suffering too much to pay our fees. So I said, no. After secondary school, I will take over for the rest of my life. I won't take one kobo from my father. So I did my A-level in class 4, my O-level in class 4, my A-level in class 5. Anyway, the rest is history. But I graduated from Ibadan in 1976 and did my National Youth Service in Old Sokoto State. Providentially, the first 2 governors that have ruled KB State since the return to democracy happen to have been my own students. And our relationships have remained. The Emir of Gwandu will not come to Abuja without letting me know, giving me advance notice. In 2011, myself, accompanied by the Papa Nuncio and all of the diplomats here, stormed Kebbi State for 3 days because I was being turbaned as Dan Majen Koko. And we said mass in the State House, and I'm sure the first time since the jihad, that mass will be said in the State House for 3 days. When we landed in Sokoto for the turbaning, we were late by 3 hours. And His Eminence, the Sultan, told them to wait until we arrived. And the Papa Nuncio led the prayers in the Sultan's palace on that day. Today, there is a parish, a Catholic parish, in Koko. Thanks to God and thanks for using us to do that. Apart from that, I returned to Ibadan after my graduation and on scholarship as a graduate assistant, did my master's 79, and in 1979 I got a scholarship to go to Oxford University, which I did not apply for because I wanted to go to 3 universities, because those who go to Oxford University, whether you are Juku's son or some very eminent people, what somebody like myself be applying to. So I applied to London, Birmingham, and Edinburgh. Not only did I get the scholarship, but it was indicated that they had sent my forms to Oxford University to discover a place for me. Discover is the word. So it wasn't, they had no option. God had instructed that be done. And so that's how I arrived in Oxford, with scholarship and also with my salary running at the University of Ibadan as an assistant lecturer. My first encounter, as I said, with the supervisor, he said, "What scholarship do I have?" I mentioned, and he said, "Oh, well, for how many years?" I said, 2 years. But if I have a good report, they can give it for 3 years. And he said, okay, that the last person he supervised will finished in 5 years, and he had a first class from one of the colleges in Cambridge. So even if I don't finish in 3 years, I can go to Ibadan and complete it from there and come and defend the thesis. I didn't answer. I kept quiet. But because of the discipline which we acquired when we were young, because in those days in the seminary, when you go for 3 months vacation and you come back, you do retreat, you won't talk for 1 week. That's part of your process. So for a 10-year-old not to be able to talk for 1 week under the roof was discipline. Any case, to cut the long story short, I finished my doctoral thesis in 2.5 years and returned to Ibadan. 2 years later, I defected from APC to PDP, from academia to field diplomacy. And I was in the Ministry of Foreign Affairs for 30 years. And the peak of that, of course, was that I was permanent representative to the United Nations in Geneva, an ambassador to Switzerland. But while I was there, I was elected president of the first African to be president of the United Nations Human Rights Council, and also president of the World Intellectual Property Organization. So I held the 2 positions, global positions, simultaneously, thanks to the pedigree of Osan. I returned to Nigeria and was appointed permanent secretary of the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. And there I stayed holding that post for 5 years, the longest any one person has held that position. And to God be the glory, since the ministry was created in 1957. Indeed, since I left, there have been 8 permanent secretaries, almost 1 every year. In 2014, I was holidaying in Seoul, Korea, and I got a call. And they said, submit your CV. I said, who is speaking? He said, from the United Nations. So I submitted my CV, and I was appointed under Secretary General of the United Nations, which is the highest career position in the UN system. And I was deployed as Ban Ki-moon's envoy to Sudan, to Darfur, to head the largest peacekeeping mission in the world at that time, UNAMID. I returned in 2017, and presently I am founder and president of the Pan-African Institute for Global Affairs and Strategy, PIGAS in Abuja, which is dedicated to helping, mentoring our young people and trying to stop the tide of irregular migration, the so-called Japa syndrome. I'm telling this story just to say how blessed and how providential it was for us to have had that experience. It's not because we were the smartest people on earth. When God blesses you, he blesses you. And because he has blessed you, no one can curse you. And so the sky is your limit. Thank you, Chair of Osan, for this bold and divine initiative to have us come together. We have a lot to offer. And actually some of us have been doing that. But it's good to have an umbrella so that we can be more focused and more targeted in the accomplishment of our mission. Look at where we are in Nigeria today. Compare this to where we are coming from. Is God our problem? No. Certainly not. I teach this in the class. At the moment, I am teaching at the Catholic University Veritas. And my brother, the other Martin that God created, Reverend Father Martin Unuba, is here. And I also teach at Bayes University on part-time. I'm the visiting professor at Igbinedion University. So I have a restlessness syndrome, so I need your prayers as well. But that is also the Osan spirit. We give, and we want to give, and we want to bless. Because really, we are on a mission. We are all on a mission. What matters really is not what we have accumulated here, but what have we accumulated for the hereafter. It's a transient place. But when you come, God will investigate. When the time comes and he calls you, God will investigate us. What did you do with the talents that I gave you? So when you give, you are actually saving in paradise. And that Osa is a vessel for us now to be able to do that and to be encouraged to do even more than we have been doing. So I want to thank the organizers of this first annual convention for inviting me as guest speaker at this epochal event. It is my hope that our deliberations, guided by the unfailing godly essence, shall have reverberating pleasant consequences for the Nigerian sojourner of today, who trudges on laboriously on a road that must be well conquered for the generation and for generations yet unborn. The title of my speech, and it's now I'm going into my speech, all that has just been preamble. What is fraternity? In the course of this lecture, I shall use the word fraternity in the good old reliable Greek manner of brotherhood or sisterhood, formed around common goals and aspirations by like minds who for a lifetime seek and share knowledge in order to develop the moral, leadership, and social skills of their members. The ex-seminarian fraternity, what is it about? In a very special way, let me thank those who conceived the novel idea of bringing us into this fraternity. The encyclical, which is very current now from our Holy Father, talks about fratelli tutti. We are brothers. This is an extension and a reflection of that sentiment. A fraternity appropriately cherished Old Seminarians Association of Nigeria, Osan, having benefited so bounteously from the sound educational platform provided gloriously by the Catholic faith. Let me also thank the dynamic Catholic Church for granting us runaway, partially baked priests. That's what we are, those who are runaway, partially baked priests. That we are those who did not complete their seminary training, or those who had to leave for one reason or the other, for granting us the grace to be part of this congregation, and the pontificate on ways to make our societies a better place for human existence, and perhaps in the manner that the self-effacing monk may not be seen, but his elixir for the good life is felt by all. What may we identify as the benefits of being in this fraternity of the Association of Nigeria, Association of Seminarians Association of Nigeria, Osan? I see endless possibilities in being an Osanite, and the list is long. First, friendship. In a world that is increasingly complex, we need one another to provide the most basic human needs. In a world that is increasingly complex, we need one another to provide the most basic of human needs. Osan can provide this handsomely. Second advantage or possibility. Osan can offer business development opportunities for her members and for others by holding regular conferences, workshops, seminars, etc., etc. Third, the association can organize programs for the personal growth and development of her members in the form of leadership development training, such as learning how to motivate, influence, and lead others. Osan can offer social activities for her members through recreation, entertainment, and, for instance, to reminisce over the good old times in the seminary. These are the potential advantages or benefits of belonging to this fraternity. But in the context of Nigeria of today, what is the state of the Nigerian nation? In an insightful article titled 5 Social Issues Dividing Nigeria, Jessica Lavopa has identified poverty, unemployment, corruption, education, and terrorism as the bane of the Nigerian nation. That's according to this scholar and this novelist, this called Lavopa. Let me quote the writer. Even though Nigeria is one of the top crude oil production areas in Africa, its government has neglected to spread the wealth into rural communities. Instead of funding necessities such as proper infrastructure, much of oil producers' revenue is given to the rich elite. With a population of Lavopa says 195, but we all know that it's over 200 million people. 40% are living below the poverty line. To live below the poverty line means that families in Nigeria make less than 137,430 naira per year. This is equivalent to $381.75. This is by the scholars' calculation. Of course, it isn't taking note of the fact that the naira is where it is today, close to 900 to $1. Lavopa states that although Nigeria, the most populated country in Africa, can produce 2.5 million barrels of crude oil per day, the country's unemployment rate is high, with the implication that millions of Nigerians are in deplorable living conditions. According to the 2020 Nigeria National Bureau of Statistics, 40% of the population in Nigeria is living below poverty line, with unemployment standing at 33.3%, while youth unemployment is 42.5%. On the issue of public sector corruption, the Corruption Perception Index, CPI, as provided by Transnational 2021, ranks Nigeria 154 out of 180 countries. Citing United Nations Office on Drugs and Crime, Lavopa states that state stores, bribery, nepotism, and voter buying, and 3 other factors all contribute to the corruption and poverty in Nigeria. Some of the Nigerian politicians and people in ruling offices in just 1 year make as much as other citizens would make in 65 years. We don't want to compare salaries that are owed to public officers who are in positions of power. On education, the following are the observations presented in a communique issued at the end of the first plenary meeting of the Catholic Bishops' Conference of Nigeria, CBCN, at the Catholic Secretariat of Nigeria Resource Center, Durumi, Abuja, 5 to 11 March 2022. There is also no functional, stable, qualitative, and affordable educational system that should be the bedrock of development. Currently, the Academic Staff Union of Universities is on strike. Well, that was at that time, with the consequent closure of our public universities, thereby leaving our young people running the streets. They have gone back now, but there's still question mark because new issues are recurring. In a country as blessed and as rich, potentially, an example of terrorism in Nigeria is the mass killing in our war. According to Wikipedia, on 5th June 2022, a mass shooting and bomb attack occurred at St. Francis Xavier Catholic Church on the Sunday of Pentecost in the city of Owo in Ondo State, where children have gone to church to thank the Holy Spirit for coming down upon all of them. Apart from the foregoing, a scholar and a good friend of mine, an ex-seminarian too, Emesalu, has identified other societal ills bedeviling the Nigerian nation as economic meltdown, tribalism, illiteracy, poverty, lack of national identity, kidnapping, inequality, inadequate infrastructure, domestic violence, gender inequality, insecurity, insurgency. Today, terrorists are branded in different categories: kidnappers, bandits, hooligans, unknown men, or unknown gunmen, all kinds of categories. So the work ahead of us in current day Nigeria is cut out. How do you now strengthen the fraternity of Old Seminarians Association to make them even more relevant in helping to address some of these challenges that we are dealing with and the challenges of nation building in Nigeria? I'm inspired by 2 critical and important documents to ask that old seminarians must come together. Old seminarians must come together for strength and solidarity in order to make meaningful contributions to the growth and development of our immediate Nigerian society and the world at large. The documents are: 1, Human Fraternity for World Peace and Living Together. This is a document that was published from the joint meeting between Pope Francis and the Grand Imam of Al-Azhar, Sheikh Ahmad Al-Tayeb, which took place on 4th February 2019. The document points out that we are all brothers and sisters in spite of our religious differences. First plenary meeting of the Catholic Bishops' Conference of Nigeria, CBCN, that's my source. The second document that is critical here is the encyclical letter, Fratelli Tutti, which I have already referred to, on fraternity and social friendship, issued by Pope Francis on 4th October 2020 in Assisi. In making reference to this second document, the bishops opine thus, quote, "We invite all to a sincere acceptance that we are brothers and sisters and embrace the things that unite and bond us together, irrespective of our differences. By virtue of our being created by one God and our descent from a common ancestry, Genesis 2:4, we must go beyond sophistry and rhetoric and work towards a tradition of love." End of quote. If disparate world religious leaders are calling for togetherness in spite of the obvious differences, then old seminarians must come together as one in spite of the barriers of tribe, culture, geographical distances, ethnicity, religious or political affiliations. Let us take pride. Let us take pride in being members of the Fraternity of Old Seminarians Association of Nigeria, Osan. In order to strengthen the Fraternity of Old Seminarians Association of Nigeria, I propose Osan should engage along the following lines. First, establish branches of the association all over the country and in diaspora. There is strength in numbers. 2, organize frequent seminars and workshops on different themes such as irregular migration as our youth perish needlessly in the desert or on the high seas in search of so-called greener pastures. I already referred to the Japa syndrome. Anywhere, I want to live anywhere except Nigeria. Good gracious. You want to live anywhere except Nigeria. That's what our young people say. On the 18th, I will wake up at around 4 o'clock. I will be at the NYSC camp under the umbrella of my institute. And that's what we have done for the past 6 years. We go to NYSC camps and we invest PIGA's NYSC ambassadors against irregular migration. Because while I was in Darfur, Sudan, I saw thousands of Nigerian young people and West Africans and even Southern Africans trekking through the desert, through Agadez, to Libya. And of course, in Libya, what happens to them, only God knows. They are caged. They are caged and sold as if you are selling chicken or goats. 200 naira, $200 rather, $500, $600. Going. They call it modern day slavery, but it's actually worse than. Because the slavery that we knew 600 years ago, you didn't have to go to the desert. You were carried in a ship. I'm not saying that it's any better, but they came here. Those people came here from Europe to come and buy, and they negotiated with our people. Some of them even paid dearly with their lives because our mosquitoes, the first liberation fighters that we had here, they died of malaria. That's why I think we should have a monument for Anopheles mosquitoes. They were the first liberation fighters that we had. That's why today we don't have permanent settlements of Oibos inside Nigeria or elsewhere, but they have in South Africa because they don't have mosquitoes there like we have. So we thank God for mosquitoes in retrospect. But at least they came here. But today, 600 years later, our future, our youth, are on their own, trekking from Kano through Agadez, drinking their urine, or the urine of their friends, in the desert, dying there. They are thrown through the windows. I have clips on all of this. I have all of that. Because delusionally, they believe that the grass is greener over there. Is it greener, or just a figment of your own imagination? People die for lack of knowledge. Cogito ergo sum. I know, therefore I am. If you don't know, you don't exist. So there is crass ignorance, there's lack of faith, and there's lack of integrity. So part of our mission in PIGAS is to go around the NYSC camps during these sessions to talk to young people about these three core values: faith, knowledge, and integrity. If you know that God created you and that God will never hand his authority over you to any small god, whoever that small god thinks he or she is, then nobody can be your God, because there is only one God. But that takes faith. Second, of course, is knowledge. You must know. As I said, cogito ergo sum. If I don't know, I don't exist. Knowledge breeds competence. And if you know, you can't be fooled, you can't be trafficked. Somebody cannot just come to you and lie to you that I will give you a job in Europe. Give me 1 million naira. You go and sell your father's house, your mother's house, and you give it to this person whom you do not know. Oh, I will give you visa. Then meet me up in Kano, because they take that route. Your airport out of Europe to Europe is in Kano. In the night they carry you in a tray, in a lorry, and next day you land in Agadez. That's how the journey is. But anyway, so we can do a lot to talk to our young people. The other one is to engage in community development in order to identify the needs of communities and consequently proffer solutions to their problems. These needs could be in the areas of disease prevention and treatment, water supply, sanitation and hygiene, maternal and child health, and supporting the environment. These are areas where Osan, I think, can play some role. We can also carry out sensitization projects to promote peace building and conflict prevention and resolution. Amongst us, there are skilled people in these various fields. We can also promote and protect the interests of members of Osan, materially and otherwise, because charity, it is said, begins at home. If we have Osan that is vibrant and working, we can also support our own who need any kind of assistance whatsoever. Osan can provide a framework for the restructuring of the Nigerian education system to guarantee quality education at the primary, secondary, and tertiary levels. If you teach in universities today as an Osan, you will know what we are talking about here. You see graduates, please. Graduates who don't know what is pressing, who cannot write a sentence that makes sense. Where did we get it wrong? The standards of education have just really fallen. So we can make some contributions. Some of us are already doing our best in that regard. But we can provide a framework for the restructuring of the Nigerian education system to guarantee quality education at the primary, secondary, and tertiary levels. We can also offer statements towards the reformation of the entire Nigerian security system in order to protect lives and property. We can suggest how the Nigerian economy can be rejigged to boost local production and attract foreign investment instead of the current reliance on importation and consumption. We can offer clues on how the institutions that uphold the rule of law can be reinvented for quality service delivery. We can suggest how government officials should be adequately remunerated to stem the tide of corruption. We can provide information on how Nigerian citizens should be well documented and the Nigerian borders properly monitored to check irregular migration. Irregular migration is one of the greatest threats, existential threat actually to Nigeria if care is not taken. We can also offer guidelines on how Nigerian national unity can be fostered to promote social justice over corruption, nepotism, ethnicity, and religious bigotry. I have a final word here, and that will bring my homily to an end. I've expressed that Nigeria is at a crossroads, economically, politically, and socially. Indeed, some will even say that we are facing an existential threat. In my encounters everywhere, I have never shied away from saying that the problem that faces Nigeria, the contest that goes on in Nigeria, is not carnal, it is spiritual. The challenge of Nigeria is not carnal, it is spiritual. We can have a whole seminar on that. From my field experience, I know that the battle that we fight is not carnal, it is spiritual. The confrontation is between light and darkness. Talking from an empirical experience, one who has held offices and still perhaps holding one or two, I know that if you are not strong spiritually, and if you do not value the privilege that God has blessed you with of being who you are, there are consequences. That Nigeria, my country, still exists today is a shock to many people. has charged us all to take action when he states thus, and I quote, "No matter how much time you spend fasting, no matter how much time you sleep on hard floor and eat ashes and sigh continually, if you do no good to others, you do nothing great." Pope Francis. I thank the organizers of this first annual convention of the Seminarians Association of Nigeria for inviting me as guest speaker, and I thank the distinguished audience for giving me the courtesy of leaving. Ad Maiorem Dei Gloria. Thank you very much.
He actually deserves that. Let's be seated. Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. Thank you again. If you didn't take anything from that speech, that address, at least you can take the fact that he reiterated, no matter how bitter, no matter how sour, that the situation is not wonderful. While we'll be prayerful and hopeful to make the situation better, the year is almost ending. It will be 2023. Reminds me of a popular church that lives biblical principles. So they sent 5 of their prayer warriors to go and spy out 2023. The news is that only 1 woman out of the 5 has returned. She has refused to eat. She has refused